Okay, good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Smudcast number 804, Let Goku Die. I seem to recall that was an actual storyline at least once or twice in the manga. So
Twice.
Yeah, at least. So maybe there's some nuance to what it means to die in the Dragon Ball world, and maybe it's permadeath, maybe it's some form of send-off. I don't know. Something that has to go on in the world of Mother's Basement, and that's his thoughts on the matter from March of last year, has about almost 600,000 views, and is 24 minutes long. Okay, hopefully we'll get to the main argument soon, and then we could prattle on about what he's trying to get at. So that'll be nice. Let's see.
Hopefully.
Are we all together? We are.
Is everyone?
I'm in this watch together.
Okay.
I just didn't change the username.
All right. Yeah, that's okay. As long as Gingham is in, we're all good. Okay, let's get going.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh no.
December 14th, 2022. The day Nothing Forever, an AI-generated, viewer-directed Seinfeld clone, began streaming on Twitch. And true to its name, it didn't stop until it was banned for procedurally generated bigotry, which seems to happen a lot with AI. While the machine learning technology behind the series is technically quite impressive in its ability to simulate almost coherent, mundane conversations, ChatGPT clearly hasn't quite learned what a joke is yet. Nonetheless, Nothing Forever's AI does deploy laugh tracks with the exact same accuracy as Big Bang Theory, and has been hailed in certain online circles as a surreal anti-funny parody of what happens to TV shows when they refuse to end. Those circles, distressingly, do not seem to include the creators of Nothing Forever, who, by their own account, see this thing as the first experimental step toward, quote, a show that can generate entertaining content forever, because that's truly where we see the future emerging towards. According to them,
okay, but what's this got to do with
Goku? They're going to be able to turn on the future equivalent of Netflix and watch a show perpetually,
I have an idea of where this is going. He's saying that because Nothing Forever exists and they want to constantly create content from it, that it's mirroring what is happening with Dragon Ball, where they're constantly pulling more and more out of the series and not letting the series die.
But to be fair, the recent revival of Dragon Ball back in at least 2013 was all because of Fox making that horrible Dragon Ball Evolution movie, and Toriyama specifically being like, you know what, I have to get off my ass and make something new as an apology for the Dragon Ball fans. And because Toriyama saw how bad his own work got destroyed by people who didn't know shit about it, and he was like, no, I can't just idle on this anymore. And that's pretty
want. You don't just have 700 or infinite seasons of a show that has fresh content whenever you want it. This terrible idea has been roundly mocked by everyone with even the slightest shred of taste on the internet. Nonetheless, there is an endlessly horrified part of me that worries they might be right, that the future they've envisioned is already most of the way here, and enough people have been conditioned to want it that the only way to stop it would be to go back in time. So, let's do that.
You know, we're living in a society!
November 1st, 1988. The day Earth lost her mightiest warrior, Son Goku, to an even mightier warrior from another planet who was his surprise older brother. A tragic day indeed, especially for Goku's surprise son Gohan, but not that tragic in the grand scheme of things. I mean, the show's got magic wish balls that can bring any dead person back to life once. They're right there in the title, so the whole thing was really just a slightly convoluted setup for our hero to hit the afterlife for a training arc with an even godlier god than the one who trained him to beat the Demon King, returning just in time to save the Earth from another, stronger evil Goku from space.
Okay, quick correction. Kami did not train Goku to beat King Piccolo. Oh,
it was,
Goku already beat King Piccolo before that. And that's what got him an audience with Kami. Kami was training him to beat Piccolo Jr. later on.
But who was the guy he trained with on that tiny little planet with intense gravity? Like, it was King Kai. Thank you.
In Dragon Ball Z, it was King Kai. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I've only seen Dragon Ball Z Kai, so.
Well, I mean, that's still
pretty
Dragon
much
Ball Z, just closer to the manga.
Yeah, closer to the manga with a lot of the filler cut out.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was good. But yeah, the correction is like Kami trained him for Piccolo Jr.
Yeah, at the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai.
Like this is the kind of thing where for anyone that hasn't watched Dragon Ball Z, they'll get the wrong information. Like this came up the last time we covered someone doing a Dragon Ball Z video, where it's like where we say again here, watch the show again.
Yeah.
Whether it's the original, preferably the original Japanese dub with subs.
Yeah.
That's the ideal way to get all the information. But aside from next to that, Kai.
Yeah. Or
Like
if you want to read the
right
or
to
if
the
you want to
point.
read the
Yeah.
or if you want to read the manga, just read the manga.
Yeah, that's good too. Like that's the kind of thing like anyone that even anyone that has seen the show, it's like you have to be eagle-eyed for when someone like says something wrong like that.
Yeah.
Also, as it turned out, the aforementioned Demon King was an alien too, as was that less godly god who gave birth to the Demon King asexually, like a frog. So...
No, they were both the same being, and he split the evil half from him being so he could become the god.
Dragon Ball's weird.
I'm going...
But it does have a certain logic that you can follow and things make sense.
Yeah. Now, on the whole, King Piccolo does reproduce asexually with those eggs that he spat out during his arc.
Which creates Piccolo Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there makes sense.
He's technically correct, but he's applying it to the wrong person.
That's the best kind of correct.
The Prince of all Gokus kills the reborn Demon King, but he's good now. That sets up an arc where they have to go to his home planet and use some even better magic wish balls that can grant the same wish multiple times to bring him and their magic wish balls back, plus beat up an evil space real estate tycoon and his evil wannabe Power Rangers. But that arc, in turn, ended with the destruction of the other better magic wish balls, meaning if Goku died again, he'd be dead for realsies. And the engines on the spaceship that brought him home weren't even cold yet when that...
Problem is, the Namekian Dragon Balls were not destroyed. They were just rendered inert because Guru died.
Yeah, because they had no Guardian to be active.
Yeah. And then, because Guru didn't have a successor passed on yet, so... That's
yeah, the thing is, they use Guru's Dragon Balls to revive Kami and Piccolo to get the originals back, which they then used to restore everyone killed by Frieza, and then Guru died of natural causes anyway.
Yeah, but Guru managed to live long enough to be warped to Earth by Dending's wish on Porunga to get everyone except Frieza and Goku off Namek. That one just long enough for Guru to name Mori his successor, and thus allow the Namekian Dragon Ball to still exist.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't go inert again because he named his successor before he died of natural causes, right?
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah.
they did go inert again because they used all three wishes, technically.
Well, but they
Guru
would...
at least named a successor to be the elder Namekian.
to be the Namekian Guardian.
Yeah, and therefore, the Dragon Ball wouldn't be turned to stone forever.
Yeah, now it's like, I'm just waiting for him to go, like, to rip into the overuse of the Dragon Balls, because I have an argument to make there if he does.
Yeah.
I mean, the show is called Dragon Ball. They're going to use the Dragon Balls.
Well, no, it's like, a series, a franchise can put its namesake on the sidelines and still be the franchise. I mean, hell, look at Metroid Dread, where the Metroids themselves don't exist anymore, but the series is still called Metroid because, which is Samus. That's how it's still called Metroid. So you can shake things up like that and still have the franchise be what it is.
And you could always make the argument that somebody somewhere out there could clone more Metroids because they're an asshole.
Well, that's beside the point. The point is like the namesake doesn't have to be too much of a focus to be called the thing.
Also, Def Champion in the chat, that Frida is technically a real estate agent, technically a landlord. At least he baked on one.
Yeah.
Monkeys.
He was based on Toriyama's landlord, I think. Toriyama just thought landlords were just the most despicable people at that time.
I mean, they are.
They are in general. Let's just be honest. But yeah,
I've raised your rent by 40% just because.
Yeah, I think it just depends. But anyway, that's very much off topic. Anyway, back to the video.
Came to pass a year later from a heart disease which caused most of humanity to be wiped out by evil androids when Goku couldn't stop them, as we learned from a guy who just used a time machine to deliver him some heart pills so all that wouldn't happen. Also, that guy was secretly the son of Shadow the Goku, who's turned good now. Still, he was only staving off the inevitable. That time machine also inadvertently brought back a much bigger threat from the future, which Goku would eventually need to sacrifice his own life to stop, at long last accepting that he couldn't be the world's strongest forever, and passing the torch to Gohan, who, unknowingly, had already surpassed his father through their adventures. Though he would defend Earth in his own way, taking up the mantle of a masked superhero to fulfill his duty while still living a normal life like his mom always wanted for him. A fitting, dare I say, poetic ending to a story that kicked off with our hero picking up a torch left by his own recently departed father figure. But then, in a stunning twist, the manga and anime were still making just so much money, so Goku got to meet an even godlier super god who gave him a get-out-of-death-free day pass to come back and fight in the world tournament with all his friends and family one last time.
No. That technically he can act fortune teller Baba for that, which was the thing established in the very first, in like the at the end of the Red Ribbon arc during the fortune teller Baba saga.
Yeah, it's one day a year that a dead person that is worthy can come back. Yeah, and Goku is, and as we know from the rest of the series, Goku proved himself more than worthy of that privilege.
Yeah, that's literally how Goku got to fight Grandpa Gohan.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the original Dragon Ball, yeah.
Yeah. Also, back to in part with the Android saga, Goku didn't, in Trunks' future timeline, Goku didn't even live to see the android because he died of the heart virus.
Yeah, he died of it before. It's like by the time they had developed the cure for his heart virus, he was already dead.
Yeah.
But they had the time machine at that point, so they could so Bulma sent Trunks back with it to save him.
Unfortunately, time travel in the Dragon Ball universe worked on multiverse theory.
That one specifically, yeah.
Yeah, because when Cell came back using Trunks' timeline or time machine, this Cell went from another timeline from future Trunks in time, where Trunks comes back after going back to the past to give Goku the heart medicine. And he's strong enough to where he beats the android, but Cell gets the drop on him and kills him, and then takes the time machine back far enough to where Cell arrived during the Saiyan saga, and then he buried himself for 4 years while his larval state had to repower itself up. So he underground for 4 years.
I'm going to be honest, you completely lost me.
Well, either way, let's
how time
get to the point that he's trying to make in the video.
But then that was interrupted by a maniacal space wizard trying to resurrect a giant evil magic baby sealed within the earth. Then a lot of war happened. Shadow the Goku turned evil again and then turned good again. An even godlier super duper god showed up. Dudes started fusing with other dudes, then fusing in a different way, and the evil baby split up and fused a bunch of times, then got swole, then small, but the small one was actually the scariest of them all. And then Goku saved the day by pressing the Save the Day button he got in his first Afterlife training arc, earning a permanent, indefinite extension on his day pass, and the small evil baby was reincarnated as a nice Indian guy who Goku got to fight in another world tournament, but also his now good fat baby half was still alive and gay married to a pro wrestler. It was at this point that series creator Akira Toriyama left the franchise over creative differences with Shueisha and Toei Animation. His creativity was totally burned out, and he figured he'd made enough money by now, whereas they didn't believe in the concept of enough money. So Goku was turned back into a kid by a secret third set of magic wish balls that are even better than the even better ones, but also destroy the planet when you use them unless you go on a fetch quest, which feels like a very on-the-nose metaphor, but I suspect was just a result of Kid Goku being easier and more fun to animate. Either way, fans didn't really like that, so they made him turn back into an adult when he goes Super Saiyan, but fans still didn't like it, like, a lot. So after a year and a bit of trying and failing to make it work, they just sort of gave up and wrote a rushed ending that, conceptually at least, ties it all together a lot better than the Buu Saga did by at least finally creating
I've
some
seen a little bit of
consequences
GT. I thought it
for
was
solving all
okay.
your problems with magic wish balls, but that's just like my opinion, man. And again, I'm only talking about the structure, not, you know, the quality of the writing, because that was pretty dog shit in GT. And still, nowhere near as good as the Cell Saga ending with a Saiyaman epilogue would have been. Anyway, while Goku may not have been formally dead at that point, the story of Dragon Ball well and truly was. For a decade and a half or so, until some of the professional corpse desecrators in Hollywood dug it back up to do their thing, and the shock of seeing that thing was so great, it actually brought the creative spark back to Toriyama's eyes. Not nearly as much as was there when he started, but enough to write a pretty good, better than Boo at least, movie every 3 years or so, introducing death gods to the Dragon Ball universe, bringing back Frieza, and reworking the movie-only character Broly to not be terrible anymore.
Screw you, Broly is awesome.
But that, in turn, put the cartoon yen signs back in Toei and Shueisha's eyes, more than enough for them to put out a not very good TV episode every week or so from 2015 to 2018, collectively titled Dragon Ball Super, in which Goku, now officially the strongest dude in the whole universe, has to fight all the same villains from those pretty good movies, but way, way slower this time, plus, in between them, such stunningly creative enemies as the strongest guy from a parallel universe and Goku from the future, but he's evil now. And if you think that's creatively bankrupt, wait till you hear about Super Dragon Ball Heroes, not to be confused with Dragon Ball Superhero, the most recent pretty good movie, a series of 8-minute web-only gacha game commercials that's been running since DB Super ended, in which the franchise owners use the established plot devices of parallel universes and time travel to stage a series of wrestling matches between Goku and other different Gokus, plus some Vegetas sometimes, and anyone else from all the other Dragon Ball things who's even remotely marketable. While there are definitely some good things about this new non-video game Dragon Ball revival era, exactly 4 good things totaling about 6 hours of runtime, when you look at it as a whole, the noise-to-signal ratio of all this new content is, frankly, just depressing. An endless loop of fights and training arcs and fights and training arcs that almost makes me miss the barely sensical MacGuffin-hunting adventures of GT. And it only gets more depressing when you realize that by now, nearly half of all the Dragon Ball anime episodes that have ever been produced are of Buu Saga quality or lower. As much as anything.
That's a bit of a stretch,
been.
don't you think?
Yeah, the quality is not an issue with Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
There's also the fact of get to the point of what do you mean by let Goku die?
Yeah, like seriously, like this whole rambling, he's just rambling on about like the history of Dragon Ball while making several incorrect statements, treating Super like it, like it
saying Super is creatively bankrupt,
which it's not. But in fact, I watched Team 4-Star Dragon Ball GT, the Dragon Ball GTFN, and they actually had a moment where they talked about like whether they think GT or Super is more canon, and they specifically mentioned the fact that they definitely think Super is more canon because it actually like tied into things from the past better, or in their opinion, and expands the Dragon Ball universe better and stuff.
Which for a lot of their faults, I do, based on how they presented that argument, I tend to agree with the statement.
Yeah.
Because when Super does take concepts from Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, yes, but first of all, gives it a bit more of a unique spin to it by comparison, and also that it pays more respect to the history of Dragon Ball, ultimately.
Yeah, and plus, the big thing with Super is the fact that it takes place between the defeat of Kid Buu and the end of D. So, it's in a pretty strict timeline of events.
And it skips over like almost half of it, because you've got the defeat of Majin Buu. 2 years after that, Yosun Goku and his friends return. Another 2 years after that, Battle of Gods. Another year after that is Resurrection F, and so on.
Yeah, and then like all these events are happening in like actually relatively short time between each other.
The rest of Super after Resurrection F is relatively all close to each other, but there's a couple time skips within the 10-year gap.
Yeah, and then I would say that general time frame from after Resurrection F and after the movie Dragon Ball Super Broly, because the next one, Dragon Ball Super Superhero, definitely takes place a couple of years later, because Goten and Trunks actually have their growth spurt to be their end of D body height, and Pan is a bit older too. So
yeah, she's 4.
We're almost halfway through, and he hasn't said anything about what he's trying to get at. So we're just like,
hopefully, at some point he'll say something of worth.
Yeah.
This Dragon Ball is now. Without an endpoint, without a clear reason for the characters to keep speaking beyond the paying audience's demand to hear them talk, all stories eventually lose all meaning. Instead of helping us understand and overcome our own struggles by offering a new perspective on them, they become nothing but a mind-numbing distraction that traps us in repetitious ways of thinking and prevents us from doing anything about those problems, consuming ever more seconds of our precious and irreplaceable time on Earth in exchange for ever-dwindling returns, at most helping us get through it, but never over it. A story that never ends is a horrifying prospect indeed. Now, as a counterpoint,
I'd say a video that never ends is a worse prospect.
Point to the widely beloved 80s fantasy classic, The Never-Ending Story. A movie about a young boy who finds solace after his mother's death in a world of living fiction called Fantastica, eventually overcoming a sinister force representing the emptiness of loss and an inability to believe in fiction, and emerging stronger for his imaginary experience, with the book and its story carrying on through all time after that, so they can help countless other sad and lost children across the ages, as they presumably have since time immemorial. Or that was the implication until the film appropriately spawned some sequels and eventually a whole Canadian TV show, allowing many a child to spend countless hours away from our problems in the dreamy land of Fantastica, myself included. So, how can I say that such an experience is fundamentally bad for us? Because that's the entire point of the never-ending story, actually. In the original German novel, the book and Fantastica are this sort of psychic parasite that fulfills people's wishes and makes them feel special in exchange for consuming their memories and turning them into empty, motivationless husks of their former selves. In the original text, Bastian Bux isn't special. He's not the chosen one. He's just the latest in an uncountably long line of the book's victims who are now trapped in a state of eternal, anonymous, meaningless stagnation within its endless pages.
Okay, I'm gonna say that he should have titled this video "Let Dragon Ball Die" because he has not gotten to fucking talking about Goku specifically dying for this. And I have no idea what the fuck he's trying to say here.
What is his point here? Like, he keeps going on unrelated tangents.
Yeah.
Welcome to Mother's Basement.
I was under the impression that people liked the never-ending story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool movie.
It's like it definitely comes off as him being like, I don't like the way Dragon Ball's going, so I'm gonna state it as objective fact. At least that's how I'm reading it, because that's the best I can do with how much he's rambling on about
Unrelated crap!
Yeah, unrelated crap tied together by one general idea.
All right. Well, we are officially halfway done.
Wouldn't a better title be "Let Media Die"? Like, let the story die? Like, make a story and have it come to a conclusive end?
Yeah, that would have been a much better title.
Well, that's a terrible title, but that's... Make a title more based on that. Like, let a story end.
Right.
Let Goku have an ending. Let Dragon Ball have an ending.
Yeah, it's called GT. Like, even the people that don't like GT, a lot of them do agree it had the best, most conclusive ending of the whole franchise. So...
that drove them away from the real world is gone, but everything else that makes them them has been taken along with it. And while Bastion does escape that fate in the end, the story concludes with the suggestion that you, the reader, may be next. And if not, then surely someone else in due time. The Never-Ending Story, in its original form, is a cautionary tale about both the power and the dangers of escapism and belief, but the film version just casually chucks out all of that messy, uncomfortable meaning to make it more palatable to an American audience that only wants to be sedated in its time off work or school. Financially speaking, an unquestionably good call. Morally and artistically, though? Author Michael Ende has called the movie revolting, and despite my deep-rooted nostalgia for it, now that I know how the book ends, I'm hard-pressed to disagree. The movie takes a story that intentionally appeals to one of our most self-destructive, addictive impulses and replaces the subversive part meant to help us overcome that with a call to action to take another hit. It's the film equivalent of going to a detox center and replacing all the methadone with...
Okay, but this is a child's movie about fantasy. And yes, you can say it's inspired by the actual book, but you're not going to have a subversive message of children escaping the playpen or leaving the crib. Like, that's fine. You can do that, but it's not going to be very appealing because kids want to go on an adventure. They want to have fun. So
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't see how this is, like, yeah, in comparison to that, but kids don't know any better. They didn't know it was based off a book, and they wouldn't read it because it sounds a little too adult for them. So I don't think they'd read it.
I never even knew there was a book of the Never-Ending Story.
I knew it was based off of a book. I just didn't know a whole lot about it.
Ultimately, it sounds like
it's just fundamentally...
It sounds a bit
up to
pretentious,
say,
if I'm
Thank you,
being
sir.
honest.
May I have another in the moment? And they almost certainly will. Human beings, as a rule, do not like it when things end, which sucks for us because everything has to eventually. I'm not being philosophical when I say that. I mean, literally, it all has to. Entropy is a fundamental, inescapable rule of our physical reality that will one day claim even things as seemingly eternal as the sun in the sky or the ground beneath our feet. But fiction, especially television, offers us an escape from that reality, and many other unpleasant ones, letting us live in worlds where good always rises to meet the threat of evil, any problem can be solved in a tight half hour, our minds carry on after death, just waiting to be wished back, and we never have to move out and say goodbye to the quirky yellow family down the street or the endearingly psychotic folks in the New York apartment next door. There's a comfort knowing you can flick on the TV at any point and the same old friends you've known for over a decade now will still be there. Until, inevitably, they're not, because the money ran out and they stopped making new episodes, or the extremely talented actors on the project kept growing out of their place in it, or, alternatively, you make the choice to leave because those quirky yellow friends of yours have been slowly transformed by market forces and exhausted writers running out of places to go into cartoon parodies of the cartoon parodies.
All right, this is fine, but he's just ranting about stories in general. Let's just skip to the end here.
What is he talking about?
There we go.
Me bringing that up will prompt plenty of comments from those of you who've done something similar, putting off an anime or manga or game simply because you don't want to say goodbye to it. So,
no, I think when you like something, you keep watching or playing it until you get as much as you can. That's generally what happens when you like something.
Yeah, like, you want to see how the story ends eventually, because having a conclusive end means that you know the story inside and out, and you can go on to find another story. And you can always come back to the one that you enjoyed after it's ended.
Yeah, it's not like it's gone. It's not like it's just gone.
Yeah.
It'll still be there.
Like we still have
you can
our
always
favorite.
Come back and watch it.
We have our favorite episodes. We have our favorite movies. We still watch them. We know it's just
our favorite game.
It's just a one-time thing. Like some games or some stories are just a one-time shot. And you're like, but it's fine. I don't need it anymore. I'll watch it again. I'll play it again once in a while. I do that with New Vegas every year. So it's not a big deal. I don't get what the problem is here.
Ginga does it every year with the Arkham trilogy.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've been kind of doing that with at least Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. So,
all right, we are 20 minutes,
we all know everything.
and I think this is just a rant about media
in general,
and stories not being having a beginning, a middle, and an end, or at least what he thinks that should mean, because there's plenty of movies and games which are standalone and they have sequels because the universe is so big, like the Fallout series, and people just like playing New Vegas, or like just like playing whatever video game they like, even though there's like 1,000 of them. So it's totally fine. I don't get what the problem is here. So we were a little confused by the title, but now we're like...
There's definitely something to say about a series going on for too long, like Simpsons or Family Guy. But that's a different issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got two super chats and a donation, so let me just read them and we'll keep on going. Vladimir Dragunov, unrelated. Oh no! Why do you always do that? Unrelated, but who had second Battle of Cursed on their bingo card? Yeah, I don't think anyone did. Yeah, I don't think anyone remembers the first Battle of Cursed in World War II. But okay, anyway. Threadnought, thank you, sir, for the £5. Escapism bad because it prevents people from being miserable their entire lives. Anime channel. I'm not sure exactly what the message is that fantasy is bad per se. I think he's just objecting to the fact that that movie was based off a book which had a very different premise and a very different story than what was designed for kids, which is fine. You could argue that, this is not what it came from. It's a simple adaptation argument you could make, but that's not the premise of the video. So it's like saying, I'm going to talk to you about politics and you keep rambling on about car tires or something stupid. It's like, what are you doing? This is silly. So.
All he came off then to me was that the guy who wrote that one infamous panel of the One More Day Spider-Man story.
Oh yeah.
Where it's Peter Parker that going off about how escapism is bad and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm glad someone else remembers that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
Because
and I've got that as a blessing.
That specific part of the One More Day storyline, it was a point of contention with basically everyone that read the book.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is what you do when you have a title of a book or a movie or whatever. Like I always bring up Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance because in the book there is a philosophy of how to take care of a motorcycle. So that's part of the title. And then there's a whole other story of this guy who's also in that story remembering his previous life of where he had shock therapy and he had a whole personality readjustment. And he was so obsessed with the concept of quality. What does it mean to have quality in life? And that's the like Zen is barely in there. It's a part of the philosophy, but it really focuses on objective quality and subjective quality. And it's great if you're studying first year philosophy and you don't want to study like Heidegger or some big name, and you just want to ease yourself into the world of reading with a story that happens to be about philosophy. So that's what I expect from a title like this, Let Goku Die. Start with that premise. Give me the first 5 minutes of here's Goku dying. And this is good and bad because XYZ. And he sort of did that, but he just talked about Dragon Ball for like 10 years. And I'm like, has nothing to do with the title.
It's more across him bitching about shows going on for too long. And you can talk about that, but when you title your video "Let Goku Die," we expect you to have a take on letting Goku die.
I want a nuanced anime fan that's talking about why this is good, why this is bad, how it could work properly, how it's worked properly in other stories. Why can't we do like something like that? I want to see that. Instead, we get like the never-ending story and why that's bad because it was based off a book that's very different. Like that's not even relevant.
Ultimately, I think I got the perfect rebuttal for this video, and that if it comes to a piece of media, whether it's a character or just the show as a whole, if the writers feel like they can still make more interesting stories out of them, let them. And if they feel like they're burnt out, can't do any more with it, then let it die.
Yeah.
Or at least just go into hiatus for a while.
All right, here's
simple, straight to the point.
Here's Nick Gurr. Thank you, sir, for the tip. Video essayist, stick to a point and have a through-line challenge. It's impossible. Holy shit, I hope this avalanche of retardation was unscripted. No, this was scripted, because if it wasn't, I'm going to be in this man's house. YouTube essays and their consequences have been a disaster. It's just the title. Honestly, we get so hung up on the title because we're expecting something and we don't get it. That's the problem that we have a lot of the time with these edgy clickbait titles that don't end up being what they should be. And I don't know why they waste our time with this, but
it really proved the old thing of don't judge a book by its cover wrong.
Well,
yep.
Anyway, we have 4 minutes left.
When you title a video "Let Goku Die," we expect the video to be about that.
Yeah, about Goku.
Yeah, but the video seems to be more like "Let Dragon Ball Die" with how much he rambled how much he went off on summarizing the entire story.
Yeah, incorrectly, but still.
That's a thing that happens. Just scroll down and you'll see what I mean. And I get that. Hell, I used to do that, but I stopped doing it when I realized that whether or not I let my favorite stories end, mine will eventually. Probably a lot less eventually than I'd like it to, and with very little warning. So if I don't say my own farewell to my favorite characters and worlds before then, I mean, they're definitely not going to do the same for me, what with how they're
What are you This is the strangest
about.
I gotta resolve myself that the stories I want to end aren't done, but I have to walk away from them because my mortality is coming. That's the No one is losing sleep over Dragon Ball not ending, dude. We're not like, oh, why can't Toriyama have a closing chapter? Like, no one really. No, we don't care.
I mean, Toriyama had a closing chapter back it with the end of the D manga.
Yeah, the famous end of Z. That's why it's called that.
Yeah, and then he didn't walk away from GT. He did help out with like getting it started up and stuff.
Getting
And
started
the
up
character designs.
and finalizing designs.
Yeah, finalizing
he
designs
was
and
gi-
making
he was
the
given-
logo for the show.
Yeah, he was given initial designs for like Super Saiyan 4, for example. Then
Yeah.
he put it through his own version of the art style, and that's what ended up on screen.
Yeah. In fact, one of the most infamous things is the fact that for the GT Dragon Ball, Toriyama actually drew an image of Super Saiyan 4 Goku, despite the fact the transformation is not his creation.
And was that also part of the was also that was for the American, for the Dragon boxes, right? Yeah,
Yeah, in general,
just in general, yeah.
because it's like he liked it because it went a different way from how he designed things, but not in a way where it's like too much. I think Toriyama liked Super Saiyan 4 through its basic concept of combining the two most iconic things about Saiyan with their transformation: Super Saiyan and the Great Ape Ogaru form, where they turn into giant
Monkey.
And
Yeah, but yeah.
but yeah, Toriyama only came back after like a very long time because of Dragon Ball Evolution being terrible, like we said earlier. And and even then, he still wasn't like fully involved with the new project. He was just more involved than he used to be, because he was like, I want my creation to actually have me be there to guide it, but I know my time in the spotlight for it is pretty much over. I'm going to. I've got my own. I'm naming my successor, and they'll continue the story. And pretty much with Dragon Ball Super, what he did was he made the basic plot line for the series, and then the anime team and his successor Torio Taro would, fill in the gap of the event for the manga and the anime specifically.
I also still find it funny that Toyo Taro just so happened to be one of the many people around the world that contributed to the Dragon Ball AF hoax.
And yeah, because he made his own fan manga.
Fan manga, but I think it was before the fan manga that he had made his own version of the Super Saiyan 5 fan art that was floating around for a while at that point.
Yeah. And ultimately, Toro, like, the guy trying to bring the Super Dragon Ball Hero anime in there when it's just a promotional anime for the game. It's not meant to be taken seriously unless you want to throw it in there as a fan of the franchise. Like, cause we can all, whether or not you're like, there's definitely arguments on whether Super or GT are canon, but everybody can agree it's like Super Dragon Ball Hero is definitely not canon, and if it is, it's definitely way to the side.
It splits off after the end of Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, Super GT. Cause at the very least, that's just a video. That's a promotional thing for a video game. We can ignore that completely.
All right.
And it's things like that. If our franchise, like it's that kind of the spin-off media, where it's like, again, it's like, in the case of Dragon Ball, at least, it's like you don't take that too seriously. That's just a separate thing to promote a game and as a side thing, just to have fun. Like that's and also
like more people, like more Saiyan being able to reach Super Saiyan 4, which is cool.
Yeah, the general idea is like that was used as a vehicle for experimenting with different things that they wouldn't have otherwise done in the main material.
Yeah,
And it's just a fun time.
Like characters getting Super Saiyan form that they never had in canon, or Cooler getting a golden form. The crazy evil Dragon Ball. Well, they made specifically for Hero.
Yeah, it's that point in a franchise where it's like they've reached the point where they just do whatever they want, but with the added benefit that it doesn't interfere with the main with the primary material for the franchise.
Yeah.
So in this case, we had our cake and ate it too.
That's the game. Dragon Ball Hero was what kept the franchise. It kept interest in the franchise in Japan for the longest time.
Yeah, and even to the point where we now have yet another show that's going to come out with Daima.
Yeah, the last thing that Toriyama did before he sadly passed away earlier this year.
Yeah.
All right.
So the franchise is still going strong, and
Yeah.
There's avenues for continuing the main story of the franchise. There's avenues for doing whatever the hell they want, like Super Dragon Ball Heroes promotional thing, or the games, or what have you. There is room for everything. So to go back to the actual argument of the video, like the whole thing of Dragon Ball as a franchise, I'm just like, they can do whatever they want, and we still have the story we've been following for decades at this point. So
yeah.
And plus all the potential that Dragon Ball has beyond that. So Dragon Ball, there's no need for Dragon Ball to stop anytime soon. Now, is there too much of it?
Yeah.
There can be an argument for that, but it's still going strong, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And now all we gotta do is just wait to see how it's going to turn out now that Toriyama's sadly gone.
Yeah, now all we have left is to wait and see how Daima's going to turn out.
Yeah,
All right.
Daima.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
So I started finishing things that I'd put off for ages, and conversely made a conscious choice to stop going with stories that I felt had reached their natural endpoints, like The Simpsons or every new Dragon Ball thing aside from the movies. If I do find myself craving more of those things, instead of seeking out the new, weaker filler, I'll just go back to the old good stuff to see what new meaning I can derive from it on a second viewing with deeper analysis. And when I go back to reread Dragon Ball, I honestly waffle between carrying on through the Buu saga or just letting it end where the abridged boys did. I think they made the right call.
They called it quit after the Cell Saga for various reasons. One, it was their just general burnout. Two, Team 4-Star was dealing with tons of copyright bullcrap from Toei and Shueisha.
On top of that, the scandal that happened with Kai, where Toei didn't want the Team 4-Star guys in the reenactment in the dub of the episode of the Buu Saga where they reenact the Hercule version of the Cell games. Yeah, the reenactment they got the Team 4-Star guys on that for the dub. Toei didn't like that and nixed it for the TV airing, but it is still in the home release, so it's a compromise at least. That wasn't as bad because we still got it in the home release, but they were dealing with a lot of crap.
Yeah, plus, like I said, they were very burned out because they've been doing that for like 7 years. 7 years at that point, I think.
Yeah, roughly, yeah, nonstop.
And they kept improving their craft as they went on because originally, like beginning of the show was pretty much a shit pokey joke and stuff, but then they just started like giving more of a shit about the narrative and stuff, like to where they still want it to be the funny parody, but they also want it to be like a genuine love letter to the show that that
they
many other Dragon Ball
loved. Yeah, it's like, and within that was the whole realization of the realization of the effect that Abridged was having on people who did not know the source material.
That too. And like
that was part of the whole thing too.
And ultimately, while they did call it quits at the Cell Saga, they still wanted to do like things for the Buu Saga. They just like didn't think they could do it in the full show format due to the fact that the Buu Saga it's a really long chunk of the story.
That and the copyright issues.
Yeah, that too.
All right.
But they at least found the compromise when they made the Boobit skit for totally not marked
Yeah.
video analysis on the Boo Saga.
Yeah, so don't you go saying that they wisely stopped or anything. There were a lot of factors going into that. That's another
Yeah.
case of misinforming people that aren't in the know.
Yeah.
Have I found this approach, gives me a lot more time to actually live my life and experience way more cool news stories that the old me might never have gotten to, and actually get to the end of them. Not only does it give me a deeper appreciation for the ones that do compel me to come back, saying goodbye to all those old faves, being content to live with the memories instead of trying to recapture that fresh first-time feeling I can never get back, has made me a lot more comfortable with accepting the endpoints that will inevitably come in all the real stories I'm living off the screen. Fiction isn't just an escape vehicle from reality. It's a mental tool we can use to simulate, analyze, and confront different aspects of reality in a safe, consequence-free context. I'd argue it's the single most powerful tool we as a species have at our disposal, as it's what's allowed us to invent all the others. But it's only useful if we make use of it, if we learn to separate the fiction from the reality, take what we need from stories, like the perspective of their creators, the reflections they prompt within us, or techniques we can apply to our own art, and learn to put them down when we're not getting anything more out of them.
What is that even? Like, you're trying to say, look at the teaching methods of this story. We should be able to get as much as we can out of it when it's not doing bad stuff or bad storytelling. Like, okay, yeah, the themes are important, the messaging is important, but that's just one aspect of the story you're experiencing. So no, that's not the focus. It's people love stories for all kinds of reasons. It's not just that we need to focus on. That's kind of weird. That's
Also, like, his argument where like you can't experience, he's trying to make where where you can't really experience something for the first time ever again. Yeah, that's kind of true. But here's the way you can do that. That you'll look at it, you'll watch other people experience it for the first time, and when they have the same general reactions that you did, it's like you go back in time. Like, good example, when Hololive VTuber Utada Pecora played the game Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, she never saw Dragon Ball Z. So she had no idea what was going to happen. And practically everyone in the comment section of her videos and the clip videos of her streams of the game, and later when she watched the anime, they were pretty much being like, yeah, seeing her reaction made me feel like I was watching it again for the very first time. So it's like, you can totally recapture what you've seen before the first time you saw it. It's just all about, like, perspective and ultimately, looking back and with both a fresh pair of eyes and a more experienced pair of eyes, to where you can better understand what was going on in the story, but also realize, man, this thing I saw before is still really cool.
We don't, the stories we're told might end up using us instead, milking our fear of finality to keep us hooked on an endless drip feed of plot turns and revelations that always seems to bring us back to the same hollow place, eating away at our existence minute by minute to fuel their own endless stagnation, and in the worst cases, warping how we view reality itself until we're incapable of functioning within it, clinging so tight to comfortable lies that we reject obviously useful truths alongside the inconvenient.
Okay, this is just a bunch of platitudes. Not sure what he's talking about anymore.
There's just a bunch of platitudes that he's painting over the Super Dragon Ball Heroes anime stuff.
And that was it.
trying to make it point of let Dragon Ball die, I guess.
He's using a lot of big, pretty words, but I don't think he knows what any of them mean.
All right. Well, I don't know if there's any memes. That was really silly. That was a silly video that went on too long, and him just rambling on about we should understand media and learn from it. Like, yeah, okay. And media should have
It's
an
a stream
ending.
about nothing.
Like, okay.
How do we know when it's over?
I do.
Thank you.
I do. Memes.
Do we have memes?
There are any.
Let me
I've
see.
got to get that clip
Let
to
me
make
check.
it a meme.
There's at least quite a few.
All right.
Let me check.
All right. Oi.
Let me check how many.
Goku
Hold on.
Omelanda kidnapped me. Woof's son? What the hell is this? Is this a joke on the boys?
Well, Keyblade can't see it, so give me a moment.
Well, I
Hey,
can,
Homelander.
Oh, on the
Homelander.
stream, yeah.
yeah, I can see it through the
Boy, Goku. Home.
Welcome.
Me wife's son.
Oh. You see, Frieza, you're not dealing with the average retard warrior anymore. Goku
Oh, God.
and Frank until the end of time animated adaptation. What the?
Oh no!
Um,
Please no!
I don't want to know. Actually, I kind of do.
No, you don't.
Be
Look,
distracting.
unless that last one end with Fusion Reborn, Goten and Trunks beating up Hitler like they did in the movie. Yeah.
Me
Shock.
distracting the 400-pound hippo friend of the girl my buddy is trying to hit on at the bar.
Yeah.
I trust you don't masturbate tonight. What the? What is that?
What if Goku landed in Cleveland?
Anyway.
Oh. Ever since
I will-
Goku switched from Kamehameha to La Ilaha Ilaha, his spirit bombs have been clocking it. Okay. What?
Okay.
I don't know.
Gen
I'll
Z,
take a
I'm going
reading.
to jump. Other Gen Z. Do a flip. Okay. Okay, Gohan, show me your power and skills. I'm not here for kid stuff. I'm here to become a whole new woman. I need I can't.
I need
read-
an
an
adult.
adult.
You are an adult. You are an adult.
Okay. They don't even care what race you are as long as you're being racist.
Yes.
That's
Cool.
right.
These are all.
I really like Smug Smile Freerun. That's very cute.
Oh yeah.
I know Frieza, I know Goku Black, that Uncle Ruckus.
That's
Yeah.
Uncle Ruckus, Frieza,
Goblin Slayer.
Freerun,
Goblin Slayer.
and Chad.
And the Chad. Just the Chad.
Hi, you are pretty strong. Would you like to fight sometime? No, you're a reckless, violent man, and I refuse to hear you and endanger others in the process. That's great.
It's
That dumb edit of Android 16 to become Superman.
It looks
honestly it looks legit.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
If I'm being perfectly honest.
Although Toriyama already made his own parody of Superman in the Dr. Slump manga.
I mean, Dr.
I
Slump
knew
Man-
I'd find you here. I heard your cancer is pretty strong. Let me fight it.
Goku, it doesn't work that way.
And there's a clip from Peter riding the flying dog dragon thing from Neverending Story.
Neverending Story, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Simpson, this is the most blatant case of fraudulent advertising since my suit against the film The Neverending Story.
I go to Utah.
Lord.
Cartoon rule. There's always at least one episode based on Dragon Ball Z or Pokemon.
Yep.
You're correct.
You're more delusional than ever. You had no idea, did you?
That is the
I'm scared. That is the scariest Super Bowl I've ever seen.
that is the
Why
weirdest cosplay.
why can't we just
That-
spell it
That
Wednesday?
cosplay is so weird.
Oh god, no! It's the ultimate cosplay. He got all 5 pieces of Exodia, the Infinity Gauntlet with all the stones. He's Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. He's Thanos. He got a purple
He's got the
lightsaber.
Omnitrix.
He got the Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet with 5 more Infinity Stones.
And he's got a lightsaber.
And he's got
And he got
hyper
Mar-
instinct.
Oh yeah.
And
Ultra
he got
instinct.
Mario mustache.
And Mario's
Oi.
mustache, of course.
Hair blue
Lord
jeans.
have mercy.
What are they discussing? We already know what they're discussing.
All right. This is.
They're
Which one
discussing the filthy monkey.
Which one are you at, Smud?
There's 3
all the
Super
way-
Saiyan based off Sonic the Hedgehog.
There is Neo Metal Sonic, Eggman,
Super
and
Neo Metal Sonic.
Super
and
Neo
his
Metal
AI
Sonic.
daughter thing.
Sage.
Sage, yeah.
Super Sage.
Super
OP
Sage.
actually can stop sucking cock but refuse to do so.
Frieza really went from pathetic monkeys to worthless crackers. Greatest development in all of anime history. Really? Also, oh yeah, someone did the colorized version of the Black Frieza.
That's
I'm
good.
fine with giving up. They're devolved into referencing themselves constantly, so it's for the best. Let video essayists die.
Third Nut's like, hey ma, there I am.
Hey, Papa, I don't know you.
Who can do an
My power
impression?
level ain't none of your friggin' business, spaceman.
Oh boy. We got a bunch of super chats. Let me read them out. From Burnout. Why won't Toriyama do an ending? Anime channel. Yeah, it's pretty much.
well, at this point, why won't he do an ending? Well, he died.
He's dead.
He's dead.
He ain't real, he did.
This guy needs
What's
to
the
touch
matter with
grass.
you? I tell you we did.
I guess calling him,
The Colonel!
I guess calling your channel Mother's Basement. I guess that's kind of out of the question. But
Yeah, the grass is growing in the basement.
At that point, we call it moth.
At this point, all I heard was the peanuts. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah,
Yep,
that's kind
Basically.
of like what it was.
essentially what it turned into. Yep.
Anyway, not a horrific video, but I wish he would just say, "This is me rambling philosophically about media as a whole, nothing to do specifically about Dragon Ball." So
Yeah.
Yeah, I called it at the beginning. I called exactly what this was.
geez, yeah, that was hard to go through. If we just strip the title away and just listen to what he's trying to say in the video, he's getting to a point about he wants to feel fulfilled and learn something from his media, and the media he wants to consume or whatever, pontificate on, is something very simple, something that has a beginning, middle, end. He can digest it, he can understand it, he can come back to it because it's so well done or it's so profound, and he can analyze it the second, third, fourth time throughout his life, and die peacefully, knowing he understands what Toriyama was trying to say. I don't know what exactly the message was, but something along those lines.
This time's
There's so many
get people
different series that you can just go and watch that are very short, between 12 and 24 episodes, only have one season, and they have a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah. Like, they make the most of their time. Ultimately, like, I get the idea that people want to, like, get more from their media, make it feel like it's worth something and has all the nuance and stuff like that. Problem is, a lot of people also don't just know. Sometimes a movie or show is just made to be fun. And sometimes you just want simple fun. And that's why I like the original D Broly so much. But because, he wasn't deep, he didn't have no big meaning behind him. In fact, his whole motivation was
He was just
dumb.
he was just a and ultimately he was just a killing machine.
Yeah, the most metal killing machine because, like, almost nothing could stop him.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just want to see awesome action.
Yeah, he didn't
Or
have to be.
sometimes you want something that's just funny. That's why I like Mel Brooks movies.
Like, or even
They're
bringing
stupid and nonsensical, don't make any sense, but no one cares because they're fucking hilarious.
well, that and also a more recent example, the Deadpool movies. It's like the story is the mess, but it's like that. I would argue all three Deadpool movies because there's like the story is basic, like at best. That's like it basic at best, and at worst just a mess. But the main focus of the Deadpool movies in particular is just first of all to have fun.
To have fun, be a fun little time for the people that read the comic or just there because they know of Deadpool from other things.
Yeah, and the way the Dragon Ball franchise is found to have fun in a not too similar vein to the Deadpool movies, or it's like the way its own way of having fun is just experimenting with different ideas, like actually doing certain actually putting to screen certain scenarios that the fans have been thinking about for decades at this point, and actually doing it like Super Dragon Ball Heroes has been doing.
Yeah, literally, that game got a lot of attention for what if this Saiyan character had a Super Saiyan form, or a Super Saiyan form that they don't actually have in canon.
What if this specific character fought this other specific character, like bringing a Cooler back with his own golden form, having him like. Was there a point where he actually like joined forces with Frieza again, and they were both golden?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. What if they both fought together in golden form against Goku and Vegeta? That whole thing. What if the two fusions actually fought each other, Gogeta and Vegito? They did that too.
What if Super Saiyan Blue fought Super Saiyan 4? Or Full Power Limit Breaker Saiyan 4 or Goku fights Mastered Ultra Instinct.
And guess what? It's like everyone was waiting for the result of that, and guess what? Ultra Instinct by just a hair still won.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing. That's the potential Dragon Ball has. Like, if the argument here was let Dragon Ball die, then it'll probably die at some point. But there's still wells to tap.
Yeah, there's still wells to tap.
And there's still potential.
And the fans just keep coming back for more because they like that. They like the stuff. They find the things interesting, and they want to keep coming back. Like, even when they don't think things are good, like Team 4-Star, they love Dragon Ball, but they've gone on record and saying they don't really like GT, and they don't really like Super, but they still acknowledge the things they did enjoy about them. And heck, again, Team 4-Star, at least Lanny Pator and Kinder, or Neko, for the past 4 months, they've been sitting down and rewatching GT in its original Japanese to give it a second chance and see if they can see it, why people like it better, or even if they personally don't. And they are definitely coming to better conclusions on what other people see in it, even if they can't get it the same out of it. So it's like we all have our different opinions, but ultimately, as long as they're still fun to be had, let us have the fun.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to say goodnight. That was a strange take.
I was going to say, just to finish on this point, it's like if you think Dragon Ball should have ended a long time ago, okay, that's perfectly fine. But as long as there's potential to have fun and interesting ideas like they've been doing, then they're gonna do it. And a franchise, Dragon Ball is ultimately gonna die at some point. But as long as there's the potential for interesting ideas, they're gonna do it. Case in point.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's all. That's the best way to end that.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for the suggestion. It was a bad take. It was a bad video with the title. Without the title, at least you could listen to it a bit more coherently without your expectations being ruined. So
a better title would have just been "Let Dragon Ball Die," because that's what he talked about. But with that said,
yeah. Thank you so much for your time, folks. We'll keep the suggestions going and see what's up next to talk about or ramble on about or hopefully have a coherent title and
whatever
video.
or whatever happens. Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully soon. Have yourself a good evening. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a
wonderful
great time.